Boys and girls, welcome to the Dream City podcast supported by Spotlight DC. I'm Cuneyt Dill.
And I'm Tom Sherwood.
This week, we're talking about the simmering mayor's race and DC's messed up finances. Plus, our speed round is back at the end. Before we start, though, Spotlight DC is the Capital City Fund for Investigative Journalism, and they're our sponsor. Spotlight DC funds and awards grants for award-winning, impactful accountability journalism. That's us. Visit spotlightdc.org for more of their projects. Hey, Tom, how's it going?
Very nice promo.
I just want to mention our last show, the interview with Councilmember Janice Lewis-George running for mayor. We talked a lot about her platform and her vision for the city. It's our second most streamed episode yet. In fact, it's our most streamed episode if you take out one that went viral on YouTube and got like 8,000 views, a little bit of an outlier. But a lot of traction, a lot of people were talking about it on Twitter, especially about Waymo. A lot of people were, a lot of Waymo enthusiasts, I'll say, were not pleased that Janice Lewis-George had some issues with Waymo and said DC is not ready yet for Waymo. By the way, I reported this week in Axios that Waymo is stepping up its lobbying. It has like $16 billion from new investment from Alphabet and other groups. So nationwide, it's going all over the place trying to invest more. And in DC, it's lobbying a lot more. But, I hope people can check out the interview if they haven't looked at it yet. We pressed her on how would she pay for childcare. She said she would consider a business activity tax on law firms and other K Street firms. That was the most detail she's given yet on that program.
We talked about ICE. We talked about her cooperating with Trump, which surprised a lot of people.
Yes, right.
And so there's a lot in that interview, and we'll be doing Kenyan McDuffie in the coming weeks.
That's right. Yeah, we're going to have Kenyan McDuffie on as well. And we have a lot to talk about this week. Before we get going, I got to say, this was wild. I opened up my Twitter on Saturday after all of the notifications that the U.S. had struck Iran and there was a new war. And one of the things I saw when I was on Twitter or X was TMZ was posting that one of their podcast co-hosts was at Joe Stone Crab, just by the White House, on Friday afternoon. And he walks in, he's having, I guess, lunch. And what he overhears is remarkable. This is how TMZ wrote it. A group at a DC restaurant was talking openly in the bar area Friday afternoon about a national secret that was about to literally explode hours later, the bombing of Iran. Attorney Mark Garagos was at Joe's Seafood Prime Steak and Stone Crab at around 3 p.m., getting something to eat and preparing to do the Two Angry Men podcast with Harvey Levin from his seat in the bar area. Just before 3:45 p.m., Mark overheard people at the bar table in the bar area talking about Iran. There were 4 men sitting at a high-top table and 2 women were sitting next to the table. The men were dressed in business attire, sport coats and collared shirts, which I guess the point is that they looked like maybe government officials. We don't know. But they said, Mark says one of the men said in a voice loud enough for him to hear clearly the U.S. was going to bomb Iran today. And then, the
few hours later, it did. And a few hours later, it did. You and I sometimes go out to dinner and with other places and other people and ourselves, and I'm always aware. I look around to see who's sitting near me because we talk sometimes about politics that wouldn't be published, and it's kind of scary. And then to hear these guys talking about bombing Iran and then it happening.
We don't even talk about, we don't talk about national security secrets. We talk about DC politics secrets, and we're very mindful.
Well, that's true, but we sometimes characterize things we see that don't make the news, that fill in the background on campaigns. And of course, and I don't know if these guys were Trump administration or not, but they've been fairly loose with safety things. There's even discussions now that they're doing all this Iran stuff at Mar-a-Lago when they should be in the most secure room back at the White House rather than at Mar-a-Lago. And then last year there was Signal Gate where they had this big discussion about bombing Yemen, and they accidentally put a magazine editor into into the conversation. And then there was something else about in Doge, but remember Doge, they were constantly saying, releasing information that should not have been public,
Oh my,
not
just
on
like
purpose. They were doing it.
you
So
gotta have
if
your
you're in a
meetings.
restaurant,
Yeah,
be careful
yeah.
what you say or do.
It's just I just thought that was so crazy and funny. By the way, I was in Georgetown on Saturday, and I saw later that people were celebrating. A lot of people with Iran flags were celebrating the news of the
Yeah, there were
weekend.
two. There were the Iranian flags and the people there supporting the takedown of Iran, if that's what's happened. And then there were also people protesting Trump taking an act of war without congressional approval.
Yeah. Okay, that's enough geopolitics. Let's talk about local politics. Um, Look, I was listening to CityCast, and they talked about our interview with Janice Lewis George, but kind of in the context of where is the mayor's race? Why aren't more people talking about the mayor's race? That sort of thing. And there's some truth to that. Like the mayor's race hasn't maybe totally exploded into public view, but
It's
it
still
does.
3 months away, too.
3 months away, the Democratic primary. I feel like it is simmering in the background, though. Behind the scenes, the campaigns are very concerned about their public image. They're reaching out to reporters, people in both camps, Janice Lewis George and Kenyan McDuffie. They're very concerned about how their candidate is coming across. They're slowly taking some jabs and punches in public view, attacking one another. Janice Lewis George kind of attacked Kenyan McDuffie's record on our podcast, basically tried to paint him as ineffective. Kenyan McDuffie shot back this past week in a story I wrote in Axios saying one of the big platforms for Janice Lewis George when she was a council member was the Green New Deal for housing. And McDuffie took a shot at her and said she never was able to get that passed. I think what's happening here is that this is going to boil into public view. And I think this is the month that things are going to get going in the mayor's race.
Yeah,
I'm
Kenyan
curious what you
McDuffie,
think.
Kenyan's been a little bit slow. He's just in the past week announced a campaign manager and a media person, and he was criticized by some people for missing a transportation forum on
Yeah.
Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Although his office said his daughter was playing in a championship basketball game and he went there instead. So, but there is a difference. Kenyan McDuffie has not appeared at all as many events as some people think he should, but his campaign tells me that he's got plenty of things going on. He's going to be stepping up his activity. I will tell you, next week, March the 10th, is the latest campaign finance reporting date on how much money the candidates have raised, how much they've spent, and how much they have in the bank or on hand to, again, wrap up the campaign you just talked about. Both Kenyan McDuffie and Janice Lewis George have reported to the finance office they've raised over $1 million with the matching fund from the district government in our fair election system. So there's a lot of money. There's a lot of pent-up people waiting to see when this campaign is going to go head-to-head.
So
And
one of
there
the
are
things
other candidates in the race.
there are.
Gary Goodweather has qualified for matching funds, but his campaign still hasn't taken on a big public sense yet. We're waiting to see if he does.
Speaking of Kenyan McDuffie, the story I wrote this past week was how he is starting to dial it up. He's, like I said, hitting back at Lewis George. And whether you want to call it a pep talk or just a meeting, Adrian Fenty, the former mayor, met with Kenyan McDuffie in early February, I'm told.
This was a very
this was
important
part
story. If you
of
didn't read it, you
yeah,
should
this was
mention it.
part. Yeah, this was part of Kenyan McDuffie's, let's say, outreach to all the former mayors. He met with Tony Williams, I'm told, and he also met with Sharon Pratt, who endorsed him. But the Fenty one is important here in particular because he ran a very energetic campaign in 2006. And I'm told during this hour-long meeting between Fenty and McDuffie that the former mayor basically gave the classic Fenty playbook that you should be very aggressive, you got to be visible, you got to be relentless, you got to knock
every
on every
day.
door every day, turn up to every ward, even if you think you don't have a shot at winning, to just go fully all in. The McDuffie campaign says this wasn't a pep talk. This was just McDuffie reaching out to every former mayor. Fair enough, whatever it was. I think it's really interesting behind the scenes. Fenty is the kind of guy McDuffie would want on his side if McDuffie is aiming for this sort of more pragmatic, pro-business, maybe practical, progressive, whatever label you want to call him.
Moderate
type
progressive, moderate progressive, as opposed to being progressive like Janice Lewis George.
Or a democratic socialist.
We should point out, Fenty, after he lost in 2010 to Vincent Gray, Fenty went off to travel around the country, make money in the tech world, and he is only visible in the background on DC politics. And of course, he lost his reelection bid in part because he failed to do what he did in 4 years earlier. He was very I'm trying to choose my words carefully here.
Well, he alienated a lot of people.
He alienated, that's a very good word. He alienated people. A year out, he was told that he had separated himself too much from the people of the district. And so he knows both winning, hard work, and he knows what happens if you get too separated from the voters. And that's what I think he told Kenyan McDuffie.
Yeah. So I think the seeds of a feisty mayoral race are being sown here, but we're still waiting for a lot of the public events. You mentioned the Transportation Forum on Sunday. WAMU reporter Alex Coma had this tweet kind of hitting at the criticism about McDuffie not going to more events. Some critics say he should be at more events. Alex Coma said he recently missed a big Anacostia gathering to attend a fundraiser with Bowser pal Ben Soto, which many see as a big missed opportunity. And then on Sunday, he wasn't at the Transportation Forum, which the Janice Lewis George campaign says was an overflow room. Someone who is...
Yeah, that event had like 6 different transportation-oriented organizations.
Yeah.
But Fenty's people said that he had a schedule prior to this, and his McDuffie said, I'm sorry, McDuffie's people said his daughter was playing in a championship basketball game. Yeah. So
also, can I just say, someone who has been very supportive of McDuffie on X, Chuck Thies, longtime DC consultant, says the sponsor that he would not advise candidates to go to events like this one, the transportation event, on account of the fact that the sponsor of that event had only 28 followers on X. By the time of this, there are like 60 followers now. But I think the organizers of that forum would very much have liked the candidates to be there, all of them.
Well, just to be clear, that bike, that new forum bike, walk, and bus pack does in fact have very few members, but it was only one of about 6 organizations that had that forum on Sunday.
But isn't that the point? Like, even if it's not that many people, like I remember when the Washington Post would cover so-and-so straw poll, and, you know, it would be like, candidate loses by 50 votes. It's like 450 votes to 400 votes. But it could be a massive like news story and a massive piece of momentum for any candidate, right?
Yeah, well, Cuneyt, I hate to tell you, but you're in the journalism world, and that journalism world you just described doesn't exist anymore.
It doesn't exist, yeah.
There's only 12 reporters on the Metro desk at the Washington Post.
No, I'm not saying like it doesn't get coverage, but does that not matter politically, or are paying attention to small debates or small straw polls not that important to winning a citywide race?
No, it's all a matter of grains of sand, and you should go, just as Fenty said, you do need to be out knocking on doors. You need to be going to events. You need to be talking to the media. You need to be putting out your programs. It's all one big ball of things to do. And if you're not seen as aggressive, and Kenyan McDuffie has been accused by people who are even for him that he's not being aggressive enough, And that's important. You got to do all of these things. It's 7 days a week, 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
And
I will say,
I have seen
oh, go ahead.
McDuffie
I'm
has
sorry.
stepped up. In the last week or two, I believe McDuffie has stepped up the social media presence because I've seen a lot of it.
Yeah, I think he also turned in twice as many required signatures to get on the ballot. So he's been canvassing. He was in Ward 4 canvassing. And I'm told that the McDuffie campaign will release a policy platform white paper on Monday. So they are going to release their
On one
first.
issue or lots of issues?
I don't know the details, but I was told that they will release some policy in writing, and a lot of people were waiting for that after.
Yeah, and
Janice
some
Lewis
people are
George's
waiting
event.
for Janice Lewis George to explain her ties and her membership with the Democratic Socialists of America Party here in the District of Columbia. It's gotten a lot of criticism on its views of American capitalism, its views of the Israel-Palestinian war. There's lots of things she has to answer about that. She, on our podcast, she said, well, the DSA, I'm a member, I support them, but I don't agree with everything they say.
Right, that's what she said.
I
She
think
said
we'll
the same
see
thing
that,
for the
and I think
Democratic
we'll see
Party
that
too.
play up more, though.
Yeah. By the way, there was another Zohran Mamdani Trump Oval Office stunner. You saw the photo, right? The photo of
Yes.
build more housing with Trump and Mamdani. I thought that was AI when it first came out. I actually sent it to one of our reporters at Axios, and I said, dude, is this AI? And he said, no, apparently it's real. It was real, but it made me think of what Janice Lewis George told us, which was she wants to work with Trump on building downtown and growing and innovating, that kind of thing, which is a difficult task to do if you're the mayor of the nation's capital and you oppose his ICE agenda. But it made me think of that. So I don't know if you want to say anything more about that. But
just in terms of tabloids, I wish we had a tabloid here in town.
Oh, yeah.
Because Mamdani, when he went to the White House, he really was there for serious reasons. He wants Trump, the developer, to spend something like $12 billion federal money to build housing.
Yeah.
But he had these funny photographs from tabloid newspapers in New York.
Right. I just pulled it up. It's a play on the classic Daily News cover, which was
Fort to City.
Trump dead. He gave Trump a copy of that paper, and then he made a mock-up that says, Trump to City, let's build. Backs new era of housing, and it's a big photo of Trump. And it says, Trump delivers 12,000 homes, most since 1973. And Trump is holding it next to Mamdani in the Oval Office.
Listen, Mamdani and the Trump are on some kind of bromance honeymoon. It's not, I will just tell you here and now, it's not going to last.
You don't think it's going to last? Yeah.
No, it'll be tabloid fodder well into this coming year.
Speaking of mayoral candidates, though, did we forget about Vincent Orange? Vincent Orange is running, former council member. He's run for mayor before. You got to hand it to the old school DC politicians when it comes to getting campaign signs up early. I spotted the Vincent Orange signs on DC streets. Look at this thing. Oh gosh, I'm trying to do some. Look at that. His signs are up earlier than like anyone else. I've seen some Gary Goodweather signs as well, but everyone is noticing that the VO looks like maybe a liquor bottle emblem, or to me it looks like the Lord of the Rings.
Well, it depends on how old you are, maybe. But to me, when I saw the first one, I saw it at a glance, and it looked like to me it said no Vincent Orange, like it was against him.
Like the O and the
the
V
VO
looks like
a no Vincent Orange.
Oh, yeah.
But, I don't know how strong. Vincent Orange was a Ward 5 council member and a large council member. He was the head of the D.C. chamber. He has wanted to run. He did. I think he first ran for office in 1990 for chairman against John Wilson. That's how far back he goes.
No, he's back.
I don't know why.
Not gone.
He says he's running because he's got the best background. Some people, and I said this to him, some people think he really dislikes Kenyan McDuffie. I don't know if it's jealousy or something between the two, but I'm told that Vincent Orange, in part, is running because he doesn't want Vincent Orange, get all these names right, He doesn't want McDuffie to be mayor. Vincent Orange doesn't. So I just kind of mixed up the names. Vincent Orange doesn't want Kenyan McDuffie to be mayor.
I'll let you take that call from Kenyan McDuffie next.
Well, it's very similar to Carol Schwartz, who ran for mayor to help defeat David Catania. So it's not unheard of.
Yeah. We got to move on in a second, but one little tidbit I'll throw in there. This is the first election year we'll have ranked choice voting, and I'm told that the pro-business group Opportunity DC is going to be spending 6 figures on a new campaign to educate voters about ranked choice voting. This is a nonpartisan initiative. They realized how much I think voters need a heads up and some education about how to use ranked choice voting. So they're going to be spending money behind that effort. I just found that out recently.
Yeah, people shouldn't assume that they know how ranked choice voting works. It's 2 things. 1, it is different how you mark the ballot. And 2, on election night, it may take a couple of days to know who's won as ranked choice voting plays out.
That's right. Okay, the next thing we want to talk about is the chief financial officer put out some more, I guess, bad news. It prompted the mayor to hold a 6:30 p.m. Friday night press briefing, which I think the press was none too pleased about, but I also think the comms team at the mayor's shop was probably also not very happy their Friday night got derailed, but they probably couldn't say that publicly. But I had a friend ask me today, explain to me like I'm 5, what is happening with the DC budget? So I would like to toss it to you, Tom. What is happening with DC's budget? You have 60 seconds.
Well, it's gloomy. Like many governments, the district is going to have $1 billion shortfall in money. And Congress changed the federal law to make much more tax cuts for people. The district didn't want those tax cuts in the city, so they changed the laws that those national tax cuts won't be effective in the district. That will save the city $600 million. And so the Attorney General and the chairman of the council, Phil Mendelson, said the council's action, the Congress, I'm sorry, this is...
I'm sorry, that's all the time we have, actually.
Let me just, I can say it faster than that. Can we just cut that?
No,
this is the problem. I've written it 5 times.
This is how difficult this is, even for people to understand.
I'll say this. I'll try to explain it for a 5-year-old. The district has a terrible budget situation, and actions by Congress is going to keep it from spending $600 million more in tax receipts over the next few years, $180 million this year. The chief financial officer, Glenn Lee, for the city, says because there's some confusion about what the Congress did and what the council has done, the CFO says, I'm not going to let you spend $180 million this year until you guys work out, is the congressional law in effect or is the district law in effect?
Yeah.
The district officials, the attorney general and the chairman of the council, say the Congress acted too late to change the city's tax laws. And so we'll see who has the bigger hand there. I'll point out Congress has the bigger hand on this.
I mean, basically, DC's economy has been troubled because of the hollowing out of downtown, and then came the
ever since the pandemic,
Trump administration cutting a lot of federal jobs, and then now we have these other additional things on top, like the tax code being overruled by Congress potentially. The city has less authority to tax as it wants and draw less money. Right. And all 3, 4, 5, God, who knows how many factors are all coming to play here for a difficult budget year.
Yes. 2 things you need to know. The congressional Republicans do not like the District of Columbia, and they will look for every way to attack what the city does. And 2, the District Home Rule Act only gives the city limited authority, limited home rule to do all these things with the government and the budget. And so what the Congress decides is what we'll have to do unless the Attorney General wants to go to court over the timing of this big tax kerfuffle.
That's right.
It's far from being settled at this point, and it means lots of money and lots of programs. The city's $1 billion short in money it needs in the coming year.
To sum up, it's no bueno for the budget. A lot of
It's
long
not good.
nights at the Wilson building to come as the mayor
And
comes
this is
out with their
not
budget.
this is not misspending by the district or anything like that. We've had 20 something plus balanced budgets. This is the economy and national politics interfering with our ability to govern ourselves.
Right. Before we jump to the speed round, Spotlight DC gets results. Support local investigative journalism by donating at spotlightdc.org. First off, I was reading a great story in the New York Post, and I say great objectively just as a reader who is delighted by how they wrote this story. Mayor Mamdani's, I guess, press secretary was limiting people from replying to his tweets, and basically they were saying, oh, this is a free speech problem. You can't do that if you're in government. But what caught my eye was how funny this story is. The press secretary's name is Joe Calvello, and here's a quote from the story. Calvello gave a thin rationale for his X practices, despite a deep dish background as an alumnus of deeply unpopular Chicago Mayor Johnson's administration. This is just chef's kiss from the New York Post. I salute you. I wish the DC media landscape had something like that. Can you imagine that kind of writing about the DC mayor or anyone else? I think it's just, and even if you're on the target of that, I think you gotta appreciate the pros here.
Yes, that kind of writing is really good, and it brings it alive to the people who don't follow government day to day. We have our own joke tabloid on social media. Michael Schaefer,
That's right,
longtime
that's
journalist
true.
in town, has been thinking up and creating with this artificial intelligence fake tabloid pages. But he's got one coming out this week online about Janice Lewis George and how she opposes driverless Waymo cars coming to the District of Columbia.
Yeah,
It's
we'll put
pretty
it up
funny.
for our YouTube list watchers.
And if you can find it, we should put it up for later.
Yeah, I'm going to put it up for our YouTube watchers. Next up that caught my attention, there is a new anonymous account on X called Let DC Build. They want the Hyde Act to be overturned in DC. The Hyde Act has been talked about a lot in DC over the years. This comes in the context of Donald Trump as the developer, the builder. I guess this anonymous account is saying, look, we have a developer in the White House. Let him build. Let him build maybe skyscrapers near the National Mall. I don't know if that's what they're going for or who's behind this. I'd like to know. If you're involved, get in touch. One of their tweets this past week was simply height maxing. So they want to height max DC. Of course, this is going to draw the passion of lots of people who love the Hyde Act, lots of people who wish maybe you could gently relax it. The mayor has talked about relaxing it in certain places before. But let's see if this gets any traction. This is another push to get rid of the Hyde Act in DC.
Yes, the Hyde Act limits construction at the height of buildings all around town to a certain level. It's 130 feet or something like that. But there are places, whether it's up in Friendship Heights or out New York Avenue or Ward 7 and 8 across the river, there are places where you could have Rosslyn-like buildings overlooking the main core of the District of Columbia. Most people just don't want the historic aspects of downtown DC, the National Mall area, to be surrounded by high buildings. I don't. When we're talking about building downtown, whether bigger buildings or buildings that are empty because of COVID and all that stuff, Gallup has done a poll that says almost nobody wants to go back to work full-time in the office. This is very bad news for the commercial real estate business. And I looked at the numbers here. Almost no one wants to go back to work full-time in the office. Gen Z people born after 1997, 71% say they want to work where they can go to the office sometime, but also work for home. And even baby boomers like me, people born from 1946 to 1964, 54% of them say they don't want to go to the office. They want to stay in the hybrid situation where they'll go to the office sometime, but they'll work from home. Only 10% of the people in this poll, across the board, only 10% of the people want to go back to work in an office full time. That is terrible news for the commercial office building industry. In my career, I've helped hundreds of people who are trying to get into the journalism business. And if I didn't see them because they came to work and they worked separately, I'd never would have helped them. And that can be replicated millions of times in our workforce.
Yeah. As a cusper, someone who feels Gen Z, but I guess might be counted as millennial, I like going in when I can. I don't want to be forced, maybe, but our setup is hybrid, and I like being able to go in to the office and seeing people and making connections. But I think most people prefer staying at home.
Yeah, the hybrid aspect of it, but you need to go in the office so you'll know the culture of the business you're working with, and also the opportunity to get to know people face to face when it comes time for raises or promotions. And if you're out there on a satellite by yourself, you don't get known by the people.
Yeah. Okay, Tom, we're not doing so good on this whole speed round thing, but I'll just
I think
end
we're
on
out well
a
over
local success story. Just Iced Tea is expanding. Bethesda entrepreneur Seth Goldman's company raised $9 million last week for an expansion with new flavors. Seth Goldman was the founder of Honest Tea. Like I said, a Bethesda-based entrepreneur. He sold Honest Tea to Coca-Cola, which ended up discontinuing it a few years ago. He was heartbroken. He started this new venture, Just Iced Tea, and it is taking off already.
I'm from the South. I drink tea, Southern sweet tea, but I haven't had sweet tea in maybe 2 decades.
Have you know what this is, right? Though his tea is always barely
Flavored.
sweet. It's like the perfect amount for me, which I don't like super sweet tea.
Is that a commercial endorsement? No,
this is not a commercial endorsement, but I am very much in favor of this tea. It's good tea. Well, we're way out of time, but we'll try better next time. Tom?
Well, I just want to take a serious moment of the fun we've had with iced tea and tabloids and all that, just to note that a farewell to the Reverend Graylan Hagler. He was a strong voice for personal and civil rights in the city for many decades. He was a pastor of the Plymouth Congregation Church, and on Sunday they had a celebration of life program for him, and we just want to wish all his parishioners well.
Yeah, thank you. To end this week, Dream City Podcast is supported by Spotlight DC, the Capital City Fund for Investigative Journalism. They raise funds and award grants for award-winning, impactful accountability journalism. Go to spotlightdc.org to donate and view their grant-funded projects. DC is Dream City. I'll see you later, Tom.
Okay, a lot going on. Come back.
Take care. Bye-bye.